Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this exciting fireside chat on BFSI, the future of partnerships and collaborations. We all know that legacy technology and monolith structures have forced BFSI organizations to open up to fintechs in recent years, not only on the business distribution side, but also in ramping up and shaping up their backend capabilities. Scalable and secured partnerships are what BFSI institutions are looking at to evolve and be competitive. But what criticalities are involved in these partnerships? To explore and understand various aspects of partnerships and collaborations, we have with us today Mr. Anup Purohit, CIO of Yes Bank. Welcome, Mr. Purohit. Great to have you in this session, sir. Let's set the ball rolling. So traditional banks and financial service companies no longer necessarily look at fintechs as intruders in the field, but instead often consider them as valuable partners. In fact, some people even go to the extent of saying that collaboration and partnerships between fintech companies and banks are essential for the future of the financial services industry and the technology sector. Why is fintech collaboration essential for the future of banking? Your thoughts here, sir.
Let me go back a couple of years back. There was a different conversation. Is fintech going to replace banks? It started with that kind of a mindset. And even at that point in time, personally, at Yes Bank, we were very clear that this concept of attacker, disruptor, and incumbent, honestly, it didn't work at that point in time. Also, we never believed in that piece. We always believed in a principle called co-optation. And then what do I mean by co-optation is basically collaboration with the competition. So fintech were kind of at a point in time, particularly in the payment space, they were a big competitors, but we then collaborated with them for this principle called co-optation. And as you already know that we have a principle, our main strategy is ART, which is alliances, relationship through technology partner. And we always believed in that. In fact, we were the first one to extend our APIs across on that. And the reason why fintechs are important in the partnership is because they can, while banks are monolithic, as you rightly said, they are legacy infrastructure, legacy applications, they don't have APIs. On the other hand, fintechs are a very niche player. They build their applications which are digital native. So and they pick up the particular use case of the industry problem and solve those things. So when they partner with the bank has to leverage their expertise onto the native digital app and integrate with their core systems, whether you build their APIs or whether you do other ways of integration, but you have to do that very clearly. Personally, my philosophy has been always on co-innovation, because you have to use what is best available in the market, particularly the fintech. They come with the mindset, which is very clear that they want to kind of set up their entire organization in collaboration because they will depend on bank for sure, but none of the fintech can exist in alone. They need to have a backend partner. So it is important that this partnership has to grow. And then even for the future, as you rightly said, if banks or the financial ecosystem has to grow, there has to be very clear-cut partnership between the two organizations. They have to use the strengths of each other. So as a banking, we have the trust, we have the stability, and we have the robustness. At the same time, fintech has an agility and the digitally native technologies, and you merge both of them, and then it's going to be win-win. So personally, I always believed that competitions make you faster, collaborations makes you better, but co-creation, which we generally do, that's a DNA, makes you better and faster. And at Yes Bank, we've been known for doing that. You pick up any example, the first deal which we did with Snapdeal, which was exposing our APIs of refund for the return good, that was a big success. And after which e-commerce as a business boomed pretty significantly. Or whether it was creating a virtual prepaid card, we did it with Snapdeal. And there was a time we actually created world's largest number of prepaid card in India with virtual cards which we created, and we were able to do that. That can happen only through partnership. Even if you look at today, PhonePe, with partnership with PhonePe for the UPI, just to let you know, in the month of January, we did 1 billion transactions. 1 billion transactions of UPI on our handle. And that is a big number. That's almost 47% of the shares of all UPI transactions in India. So it's actually a right marriage between the fintech and the partner and the banks to do that. But at the same time, banks have to be ready to explore them. They can't view fintechs as a small player. You have to really look at them as a partnership model. Then only it will make sense. It will be kind of using them for particular things and then treating them as a junior partner. It won't help.
Absolutely. So it's basically a complementary fit between the two entities, the banks and the fintechs. Great.
Absolutely.
So what are the benefits of fintech collaborations with banks, sir? What could be some partnership ideas to generate revenue? Because at the end of the day, a partnership has to be fruitful. It has to generate revenue. Only then it makes sense. So if you could share some ideas that could actually help banks and fintechs in ramping up the revenues, that would be great.
A lot of areas. So you can generate revenue in multiple areas as a float, as a fee income. These are the two, I would say, first basic thing which you can do. So when we have exposed our APIs across, let's say, through fintech. So there are two ways. When I have tied up with a small fintech who helped me to build those APIs, with those APIs, I was able to integrate with more than kind of 2,000 odd customers, and that created a stickiness with the bank on that. So that gave me a lot of float of those customers. At the same time, while we don't charge per transaction to the customer, there is an opportunity of charging on you can call it as a proper product and price guide you can build where you can charge your customers. While we don't do that, our primary aim is today to ensure the stickiness with our customers. So that was one simple case, I would say. There are areas wherein you can acquire and service customers also. So there are areas, for example, so RBI, as you know, they have also allowed something called as an RE, which are the regulated entities who can do KYC on your behalf. If a partner can do KYC, they can also onboard a customer for you for all practical purposes. And when I say onboard, in the sense, onboard will happen in my system, but they can be the front end to onboard the customers for me. I can do an acquisition, which I said, and there are many cases, many use cases you can do that. There are areas wherein you can create a marketplace. For example, like what we have done, something called as and you will hear pretty soon in the market, something called as a API hub or a marketplace, wherein you integrate the fintechs of the world, like HR. So the way when I say fintechs of the world, you integrate them not as your customer, but as your partner. And then what I mean by that, for example, today our customers will require HR services, small SMEs, उनको HR services चाहिए, उनको accounting services चाहिए, उनको GST services चाहिए. Now there are fintechs in all these areas जहाँ पर HR solution payroll provide करते हैं. Now if I can partner with them with a Yes Bank current account and let's say HR services, now this can go as a bouquet of a service to, let's say, an SME who doesn't have an HR system. Now he can avail HR system. At the same time, his payroll processing becomes seamless because Yes Bank has been integrated with the payroll vendor. So he doesn't have to do anything. So it becomes an easy life for him. Likewise, you pick up any areas, taxation, pakado up, accounting services, pakado, you can always integrate on that. So that's another big areas for a very niche partnership between the fintechs and the banks and which can scale up. So actually, if you ask me, there's no, you can check about sky's the limit. You think of an idea and you'll be able to partner.
Sure. No, these are definitely some great examples that, companies can adopt. Moving forward, sir, what are the challenges of such partnerships and collaborations? I mean, what should an enterprise or an organization or a bank be wary of before collaborating or partnering with a fintech? Because one of the most notable challenges that come to my mind is concerning regulatory requirements. Security is another challenge fintechs and banks face. Data breaches have become a part of life, and such partnerships need to be very careful of cyber attacks. What else comes to your mind when we talk about challenges?
So while you have highlighted a couple of them, the other things which you will have one has to consider is what happens is fintechs are initially pretty scarce on their funding. So they use all open source solutions. But when I have to integrate with the bank system, I can't use open source. There has to be kind of a commercial version of the softwares which they are using it. So that's first challenge we generally face in challenges. Now, the challenges are not using the commercial version. The challenge is using when you use a software like WebLogic instead of let's say open source middleware. Now to convert them into these becomes a challenge because all these commercial versions are all tier 1 companies and it becomes difficult to get them to to integrate on this, to migrate. So that becomes another first challenge. The second challenge with the fintechs is their size. Now, when I say size, what happens is, while we all know that fintechs, the success of fintechs is certain percentage. Obviously, not all of them are successful. Now, there are chances wherein you can put your all your core business process. When I say core, so if I want to say, if I talk about UPI, where PhonePe is a big partner, he's grown up now. There's no way he can go down at this stage because he has a significant market share. But there would be smaller fintech players जहाँ पर आपका dependency बढ़ जाता है, and that companies get either wound up or they are not able to scale in terms of more customers, and hence they can't grow. तो उनका wound up होने का chances काफी हो जाता है, and that becomes a challenge, because then you're left with nothing, but you have to cover yourself in terms of contract and ensure that the software and the escrow, the codes are available with you, so that you are able to manage it. But it becomes difficult for a bank to even get into that area and manage the code. So that's the second kind of challenges. Third is in terms of still the support models. When I say support models, these fintechs, while they sell them, they don't have a proper ecosystem of their entire simple, say, release management, things like 24/7 coverage, because they are very thin in terms of the resources. So that becomes another challenge, because if you are kind of making them as your core business proposition, then these becomes a significant challenge.
Sure. No, definitely, sir. You talked about size as being, one of the challenges. I feel the size could be a challenge even for a bank, because, given huge sizes of banks and their organizational complexity, there could be cultural issues as well. So, no, it actually is a problem even for a bank to align with a small entity.
Absolutely.
Your thoughts, sir?
I'll tell you, I remember seeing a slide, because in a bank, generally, we build something which has to last for 3 years, 4 years. Okay, because we capitalize and depreciate all our assets in 3 years, 4 years time. But nowadays, which means I'm building a concrete road of 4 years for a particular technology to sustain and that. But my customers' needs are changing, which are going through a totally separate small gully, and maybe that gully is providing me a proper solution, and the concrete is not able to accept that piece. So that is the challenge which we face. It becomes difficult, and which is where the need, if you look at now, things are changing. आज से 4-5 साल पहले CDO का requirement बहुत ज़्यादा था, because it was said कि CIOs है ना, वो concrete का रास्ता बनाते हैं, they are loggerhead, वो सोचते नहीं है business के बारे में, तो हम chief digital officer लेके आएंगे. But that trend has now gone down, because now CIOs के sustenance की बात आ गई है. If they want to kind of sustain, they have to look ahead, they can't look back. So they have to ensure, they have to become agile, they have to accept these technologies, they have to come up with a solution without compromising on the regulations from the regulator, or without compromising the customer details. So you have to do that. So nowadays you see a CDO ka taken a deep dive in terms of lots of organizations are probably not hiring CDOs any longer, because the CIOs have become more powerful, because they already knew the technology. Now they are focusing on the business and the digital part of it, so they can take an additional responsibility and do it.
Sure. So one final question, sir. How should technology leaders look at to ensure a smooth, seamless, and fruitful, mutually beneficial partnership? What should be the modalities of such a collaborative approach between, a bank and a fintech?
So first of all, one needs to look at what problem statement is fintech going to solve for you. That's the first basic thing. What areas you are going to address. So that's the first thing when you look at various fintech. I can tell you, I receive on an average 2 to 3 fintechs meeting invites every day around that. But it's not possible for me to integrate and engage every partner on that front. So first is identification of the right technology partner. आपका क्या business problem solve हो रहा है? That's the first part of it. The second part of it is how will this get accepted in the ecosystem? You need to have that vision. It may be something new, which is probably doesn't have any baggage or history. You need to ensure कि boss इसको कैसे आप mainline करने वाले हो चीज को, and you need to have a conviction in taking that ahead. Third is you can't make your fintech starve, so you have to partner with them in a manner wherein you have to ensure he has a continuous inflow of money for a period of time until he kind of scales up his other areas also. नहीं तो वो आप solution may be good, आपने integrate कर दिया, but you are negotiating with him, reduce the price, he is not able to grow in other market, then वो मर जाएगा. And I've seen n number of cases in that area. So you have to have a symbiotic relationship with fintech, not the other way around. So you have to actually kind of nurture them to grow up. You have to help them to get more customers as well. Trust me, because lot of ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, नहीं ये तो मेरा ना प्रोप्राइटरी है, बस मैं इसके साथ काम करूंगा, ये मेरा फर्स्ट राइट ऑफ रिफ्यूजल है, मैं इसको यूज करूंगा, फिर टू मार्केट. इफ इट डजंट गो टू मार्केट, he can't sustain. If he can't sell this product to 5 other banks or 2 other industry, he can't sustain. वो मर जाएगा. So you can't have that. You get your first mover advantage for a few months or that. Let and do you want to use your branding name के आपने ये use किया है on that area, like blockchain. We worked with a small partner called Katina on that and we implemented blockchain way back 1st January 2019, wherein vendor payment. But I couldn't have hold him के पास तू अभी किसी के साथ काम मत कर यार, तू मर जाएगा. So we said boss वो grow करो, आपको जैसे grow करना है. So वो आपको you need to nurture them. Also probably you need to help them to get more customers. You need to give references to them. So that is how I feel that it has to be a symbiotic relationship with the fintech and the banks rather than kind of having a spotting right on the fintech. So initially fintech will come into pressure when you as a big bank are asking them, giving them for them, you are giving them an opportunity. But opportunity एक है, but वो opportunity को sustain करना, दूसरे customers दिलाना, then only that fintech player will come up.
Sure. No, great input, sir. Thank you so much. That's all we have time for, ladies and gentlemen. We hope the insights shared by Mr. Purohit would help you in forging fruitful and successful lasting partnerships for your organization. Thanks once again, Mr. Purohit, for joining us, and thanks viewers for sparing time for this session. Stay healthy, stay safe, and keep watching ETCIO BFSI Summit. Thank you.
Thank you.